The beach. It's meant to be the ultimate escape, but for some people it's just another reason to complain. We've collected 55 of the most mind-bendingly weird complaints ever filed. From demands to silence the ocean to outrage over the sand being the wrong color, these stories are a masterclass in human absurdity. By the way, where do you prefer to relax? At the beach or in the mountains? Share it in the comments and we'll move on to our complaints. 1. Armed with a brand new metal detector and a head full of pirate movies, a man named Gary spent his entire vacation scanning a historic beach. He found nothing but bottle caps and loose change. He later wrote a letter to the local historical society complaining about the complete lack of buried treasure. He felt that a beach with such a rich history of pirates should be seeded with a few chests or at least some valuable artifacts to make the experience more authentic and rewarding for amateur treasure hunters like himself. 2. Inside a premium, oceanfront hotel room, a guest named Jeff demanded a full refund because the ocean was too loud. He claimed the ceaseless crashing of waves kept him awake all night. When the manager calmly explained that the sound of the ocean was a primary feature of the room, Jeff became irate. He insisted the hotel should either find a way to turn the ocean down after 10 p.m. or should have invested in some sort of large-scale, offshore soundproofing technology. 3. A woman named Diane was furious after her beach trip. She washed her feet at the rinse station, but they immediately got sandy again on the walk back to her car, making a mess on her floor mats. She filed a complaint, arguing it was a huge design flaw. She demanded the city pave a special sand-free path directly from the showers to the parking lot, so no one would ever have to deal with the problem of wet feet attracting sand again. 4. One of the most legendary complaints comes from a woman named Linda, who was furious that the lifeguards were, in her words, too handsome. She argued that their distracting physiques made it impossible for her to relax and read her book. She claimed their presence was a public nuisance because she, along with other women, were forced to stare at them, which was ruining their vacation. She actually demanded they be replaced with less attractive personnel. 5. For a couple named Chloe and Liam, the main purpose of a beach vacation was getting the perfect Instagram photo. They were furious when the sunset was too fast, claiming it didn't give them enough time to get the lighting right for their pictures. They complained to their resort's event coordinator that nature was unaccommodating and asked if it was possible to get a schedule for longer, more photographable sunsets for the remainder of their stay. 6. A family from the Midwest, visiting the coast for the first time, saw a shark warning sign posted near the lifeguard tower. Instead of appreciating the heads up, the father became irate. He complained to the city that the sign was needlessly alarming and had ruined their carefree vacation vibe. He argued that even if the threat was real, it was bad marketing for the beach and demanded it be taken down to avoid upsetting other tourists. How much reality are you willing to ignore to have a good time? 7. Complaining about too much sand is one thing, but what about the wrong kind of sand? A traveler to a famous Greek island was deeply unsatisfied because the sand was too white. They claimed the brilliant white sand reflected the sunlight so intensely that it hurt their eyes, even while wearing sunglasses. Their proposed solution was for the local government to import tons of duller, more beige-colored sand to mix in, making the beach less picturesque but more comfortable for their specific visual sensitivity. 8. Forget car theft or burglary. One man called the police to report a crime of a different feather. The perpetrator was a seagull, and the stolen item was a single French fry from his container. He was adamant about filing an official police report, describing the bird as having shifty eyes and showing no remorse for its actions. He then asked if it was possible to set up a lineup of local gulls so he could identify the winged criminal responsible for the theft. 9. Apparently, reality can be a huge letdown. A father named David demanded a refund after a snorkeling trip because the fish weren't as colorful or animated as they are in the movie Finding Nemo. He complained to the tour company that his children were distraught by the lack of talking clownfish. His official reason for the refund request? He blamed the ocean for its subpar casting and for failing to deliver a true Disney-level experience. 10. A family sat on a pier for nearly 20 minutes, watching a flock of pelicans just sitting on the wooden posts. The father, visibly annoyed, found a park ranger to complain that the pelicans were lazy and unprofessional. He had promised his kids they would see the birds perform their spectacular dives for fish, but they were just sitting around, doing nothing. He asked if the ranger could prod them into action, treating the wild birds like animatronics at a theme park that had malfunctioned. How much should wild animals have to work to entertain us on our vacation? 11. On the shores of Maryland, a tourist named Eleanor became deeply disturbed by the local crab population. She wrote a letter to the parks department complaining that the crabs were walking incorrectly. She found their sideways scuttling to be unnatural and shifty, and was convinced they were up to something. She suggested that park rangers should attempt to train the crabs to walk forward, arguing that their current method of movement set a bad, untrustworthy example for children visiting the beach. 12. For a man named Greg, who was trying to take a work call from his beach towel, paradise was just too noisy. His issue wasn't with people or music, but with the small sandpiper birds running along the shore. He complained to a park ranger that their incessant and unprofessionally cheerful chirping was making it impossible for him to sound professional on his conference call. He asked if anything could be done to disperse the birds during business hours. 13. For a woman named Evelyn, the beach was supposed to be a sanctuary for her mindfulness practice. It was until it was ruined by the sound of children laughing. She filed a noise complaint with the beach patrol, claiming the piercing shrieks of youthful joy were disrupting the serene atmosphere and making it impossible for her to meditate. She requested that a quiet zone be established, where audible happiness would be strictly prohibited. 14. After her son Braden got a small scratch from a seashell, a mother named Janice located the on-duty lifeguard and launched into a tirade about beach safety. She insisted that the presence of sharp shells constituted a major liability and demanded that the entire beach be thoroughly raked and sifted for any potentially pointy objects every morning before the public was allowed to enter. She compared the beach to an unregulated playground full of natural daggers. 15. Seaweed is a fact of life, but not for Robert. He paid a premium for an oceanfront suite at a luxury resort, only to find the shoreline dotted with clumps of seaweed after a storm. He complained to the front desk that the organic debris was ruining his view and the hotel's aesthetic. He wasn't satisfied with the staff cleaning the sand. He genuinely expected the resort to have a dedicated seaweed removal team on boats to clean the surface of the ocean itself. 16. It was a beautiful sunny day, but for one reader, it was a nightmare. A woman complained to her resort that the beach was too windy, preventing her from comfortably reading her novel. The breeze kept turning the pages, which she found incredibly frustrating. Her proposed solutions included the resort installing a series of large, strategically placed glass walls along the beach, or, failing that, offering a complimentary page-holding service performed by a hotel employee. 17. A family booked a guaranteed dolphin sighting boat tour in Florida. After 2 hours on the water without seeing a single dolphin, they returned to shore, furious. The father accused the captain of not calling the dolphins correctly, and even suggested the tour company was part of a scam. He wrote in his official complaint that the dolphins were probably on the company's payroll and had simply decided not to show up for work that day, demanding a full refund plus compensation for his children's emotional distress. What's the most entitled thing you've ever heard a tourist demand? 18. Walking barefoot on hot sand is a common beach hazard, but one tourist believed it was a solvable problem. After scorching the soles of his feet on a walk to the water, he submitted a detailed proposal to the city council. He suggested they install a complex underground sand cooling system, a network of pipes circulating chilled water beneath the entire beach to maintain a constant, pleasant temperature. He argued it would boost tourism and prevent unnecessary foot-related injuries. 19. The competitive world of parenting apparently extends all the way to sandcastle construction. A mother named Meredith sought out a park ranger to file a complaint about the intimidating quality of other children's sandcastles. She claimed that the architecturally superior fortresses being built by other kids, complete with elaborate moats and turrets, were causing her son Leo emotional distress and stifling his creative spirit. She demanded that a designated beginners section be established on the beach, where only simple, non-intimidating bucket mounds would be permitted to protect the self-esteem of less skilled sand architects. 20. The sun's movement across the sky is a predictable phenomenon, but not for everyone. A woman woke up from a nap on the beach to find her legs were sunburnt. She stormed to the hotel's beach kiosk to complain. Her perfectly positioned umbrella, she explained, no longer provided shade because the sun had moved. She argued that the staff should have warned her about this solar shift, or even better, an employee should have been tasked with periodically adjusting her umbrella to keep her fully in the shade while she slept. 21. The classic scent of the ocean is a selling point for coastal real estate, but for a tourist named Arthur, it was a deal-breaker. He complained to his hotel that the salty air was aggressively fishy and was irritating his sinuses. He didn't just want to change rooms. He suggested that the city should invest in a series of large, industrial-grade air fresheners to be placed along the coastline to create a more neutral or perhaps pine-scented atmosphere. 22. For one woman named Sheila, the beach was a work of art, and other beachgoers were ruining it. She was deeply upset that the sand was, in her words, covered in footprints, which spoiled the pristine, untouched look she had envisioned. She went to the beach information booth to ask if there was a specific time of day when the sand was groomed, or raked smooth, and seemed genuinely confused when the attendant explained that people walking on the beach was a normal occurrence. 23. Apparently, even the rhythm of nature can be a source of profound disappointment. A man sat watching the waves for an hour before complaining to a park ranger that they were too repetitive. He described the constant ebb and flow as monotonous and predictable, and claimed he was expecting more variety in their size and frequency. It was as if he thought the ocean was a streaming service with a poor algorithm. 24. Sea foam is a common sight, but for a woman named Barbara, it was evidence of a major corporate cover-up. She was disgusted by the frothy white lines washing ashore, convinced it was some kind of industrial soap or chemical runoff. She marched to the beach patrol office, demanding to see the ocean's chemical safety reports and threatening to call the Environmental Protection Agency because the beach was clearly unclean and improperly sanitized. 25. The walk from the parking lot to the shore can be a bit of a trek, but one family saw it as a massive infrastructural failure. They filed a complaint with the city, arguing that the distance was unreasonable for the modern traveler. Their written suggestion was not for more access points, but for the installation of a human-sized conveyor belt, like the ones in airports, to transport visitors and their gear effortlessly over the dunes to the water's edge. 26. You can't control the orbit of the moon, but that didn't stop one family from complaining about its effects. After spending hours building a magnificent sandcastle, the tide came in and washed it all away. They stormed into their resort's reception desk, furious that no one had warned them the water level would rise. They genuinely felt the hotel was negligent for not providing a detailed tide schedule, complete with a warning that sand-based architectural projects may be compromised. 27. A tourist from a landlocked state was disgusted to find that the ocean water wasn't as clear as a swimming pool. He complained to the lifeguard that he could see bits of stuff floating in it, and that the murky quality prevented him from seeing his own feet. He then asked with complete sincerity how often the ocean was drained and filtered, and if he had just arrived on an off day for sanitation. Where do you even start explaining how an entire planet works to someone like that? 28. After enjoying a beautiful day, a camper at a beachfront site filed a complaint about the night. His issue wasn't with noisy neighbors or insects. It was with the moon. He claimed it was excessively bright, casting eerie shadows and ruining the pitch-black ambiance he desired for stargazing. In his written feedback, he unironically suggested that the park should look into installing some kind of lunar dimmer switch. 29. In the age of constant connectivity, some people see nature as an unforgivable dead zone. A young man was overheard complaining loudly to his friends that the beach was basically unusable. His grievance? The resort's Wi-Fi signal didn't reach the ocean. He was genuinely outraged that he couldn't float on his inflatable lounger and stream videos at the same time. He later wrote in the hotel's suggestion box that they needed to install aquatic signal boosters to provide coverage at least 50 yards out to sea. 30. Down in Florida, one beachgoer's tranquil swim was ruined by the local wildlife. She called animal control to complain that the fish in the sea were swimming too close to her. She wasn't talking about sharks, just small, harmless fish. She insisted they were invading her personal space and staring at her, which she found incredibly unnerving. Her solution was for the city to install an underwater fence to keep the fish in a designated area, away from swimmers. What would you even put on that fence? No loitering signs for trout? 31. A particularly meticulous visitor left a one-star review for a scenic coastal viewpoint in California, complaining that the horizon was not perfectly straight. He claimed he had a good eye for these things and was certain that the line where the sea met the sky was visibly crooked. He even went so far as to suggest that the Earth might be slightly tilted in that specific area, and that the local government should look into it. Have you ever been so disappointed by a landscape? 32. One aspiring artist's beachcombing trip ended in bitter disappointment. She sent a lengthy one-star review to the state park's website complaining about the substandard quality of the local seashells. She claimed they were mostly broken, chipped, or boringly colored, which was completely unsuitable for her mosaic project. She was outraged that the beach didn't offer a more curated or premium selection of shells, and felt she had wasted her time on a fruitless treasure hunt. 33. A tourist in Hawaii was so let down by the view that he felt compelled to document it. He took a picture of the ocean and marched to his hotel's front desk to show the manager. His complaint? The water's color didn't precisely match the vibrant turquoise depicted in the resort's online gallery. He accused the hotel of using deceptive photo editing and demanded a room discount to compensate for the disappointing and far more greenish-blue reality of the Pacific Ocean. 34. You see them at water parks, but one father was shocked they weren't a standard feature of the coastline. He complained to the lifeguard that the ocean lacked designated splash zones. He was concerned that the chaotic, unregulated splashing of other swimmers was creating an unsafe and overly wet environment for his family. He seriously proposed roping off specific areas where splashing was permitted, while other sections would be reserved for calm, stationary soaking. At what point does a safety suggestion become a demand to bubble wrap the entire planet? 35. Brenda's trip to a famous UK beach didn't quite live up to the pictures in the brochure. She filed a formal complaint with the local tourism board, not about the water, not about the crowds, but about the sand. Specifically, that there was, and I quote, too much of it. She detailed how the granular material got into her shoes and her food, suggesting that for a more comfortable walking experience, a significant portion of the beach should be paved over. 36. The magic of low tide revealing a world of fascinating tide pools was completely lost on one family. Their complaint was all about timing. The tide went out in the middle of the day, which conflicted with their scheduled lunch and nap time. The mother wrote in the resort's guest book that the tide schedule was incredibly inconvenient and suggested that nature should coordinate its cycles to better align with the leisurely pace of a typical family on vacation as if the moon was supposed to check their Google Calendar. 37. A couple on a romantic Hawaiian getaway approached their hotel concierge looking deeply concerned. The woman, Cynthia, explained that the sunset they had just witnessed was underwhelming, and the colors were not nearly as vibrant as those pictured in the resort's marketing materials. She then asked in all seriousness if the concierge could check the schedule to see when the next good one was happening, as they wanted to make sure they got their money's worth. Apparently, they believed the hotel had a direct line to the cosmos and could book a better atmospheric light show on request. 38. It was a man's first time swimming in the ocean, and the experience left him feeling disgusted. His complaint wasn't about the temperature or the waves, but what happened after he got out. As the water evaporated from his skin, it left behind a fine, salty residue. He described the gritty, crystalline film as unhygienic and was shocked that the beach didn't offer some kind of complimentary freshwater rinse-off for his entire body. He was literally complaining about the very essence of saltwater. 39. Some people notice details others don't, but one tourist took it to an entirely new level. After studying a map and then staring at the coastline for a long time, he flagged down a city official to complain that the bay was asymmetrical. He pointed out how one side of the cove curved more sharply than the other, which he found aesthetically unsettling. He suggested that a team of engineers should be brought in to see if the coastline could be geometrically balanced to create a more pleasing symmetrical view. 40. One mother's concern for her child's diet led to a truly bizarre complaint. She was furious about the ice cream truck that drove by the beach every afternoon. Her issue wasn't the noise or the traffic, it was the predatory nature of the music. She claimed the cheerful jingle was a form of auditory coercion that unfairly tempted her children into wanting unhealthy snacks. She demanded that the truck be banned or forced to play something less enticing, like somber classical music. 41. A man from Arizona, accustomed to the predictable warmth of a swimming pool, took a trip to the Oregon coast in May. He was so appalled by the coldness of the Pacific Ocean that he demanded to speak to a manager at the state park office. He argued that it was the park's responsibility to heat the ocean to a reasonable temperature, or at the very least, post large digital thermometers on the beach so visitors wouldn't be unpleasantly surprised by nature's obvious design flaws. 42. It seems some people expect their vacation brochures to come with an atmospheric physics textbook. A British tourist named Mark, on holiday in the Caribbean, complained to his travel agency that the sun was significantly hotter than expected. After getting a sunburn, he argued the brochure's images of sun-drenched beaches were misleading. He sought compensation because he felt it should have contained a much larger warning about the sun's potential to burn skin, completely ignoring his own failure to apply sunscreen. Seriously, at what point is it just your own fault? 43. In a complaint that almost sounds like a riddle, a hotel guest called the front desk in a panic. She had gone for a brief dip in the ocean and was horrified to discover that the water had made her designer swimsuit unacceptably wet. She insisted that this had never happened to her in a swimming pool and wanted to know what the hotel was going to do about the defective quality of their ocean. 44. After an hour of frantic searching, a man named Kevin concluded the beach itself was to blame for his lost car keys. He went to the lifeguard stand not to ask for help, but to file a grievance. He claimed that sand is inherently designed to hide things, and that the beach, therefore, had a responsibility to provide a complimentary beach-wide metal detector service for guests. He argued that the lack of this service constituted gross negligence. 45. Sometimes wildlife is a little too wild for some people. A couple lodged a formal complaint with the Park Service after witnessing 2 seals on a distant rock engaging in natural mating behavior. They described the scene as indecent and not appropriate for a family-friendly environment. They seriously asked if the park rangers could somehow train the seals to be more discreet, or perhaps limit such activities to after hours when children weren't present. 46. When a lifeguard told a young man named Chad that he couldn't fly his expensive drone over a crowded beach, the response wasn't understanding, but outrage. Chad filed a complaint against the lifeguard for stifling the influencer economy. He argued that his aerial content creation was a protected form of artistic expression and that the beach's no-fly zone was a direct violation of his creative freedom. 47. A family's idyllic picnic was interrupted by a common, six-legged problem: ants. But instead of just moving their blanket, the mother sought out a park ranger to complain about the beach's unmanaged ant infestation. She wasn't just annoyed, she was demanding action. She suggested the park needed to implement a comprehensive, eco-friendly pest control program across the several miles of sand to ensure a critter-free dining experience for all visitors. Is it reasonable to expect nature to be completely sterile for our convenience? 48. A tourist staying on the Virginia coast was deeply disappointed by his vacation photos. He complained to his hotel manager that he had woken up every morning to capture the beautiful sunrise, only to be let down by the sunset. His grievance? The sun. Set in the wrong place, disappearing over the land instead of sinking dramatically into the ocean. He was furious that no one had explained this basic geographical fact to him before he booked his East Coast trip. 49. A father's attempt to teach his son to boogie board ended in pure frustration, and he blamed the ocean. He complained to beach patrol that the waves were uncooperative and lacked the perfect, gentle rolling quality needed for a beginner. He asked if there was a different beach nearby with an officially designated beginner-level wave zone, treating the natural coastline as if it were a ski resort with slopes rated from green to black diamond. 50. The pursuit of comfort knows no bounds. A woman left a scathing one-star review for a beach chair rental service, not because the chair was broken, but because it lacked proper ergonomic design. She cited a complete lack of adjustable lumbar support and a cup holder that was too small for her insulated tumbler. She claimed the poorly engineered chair ruined her posture and, by extension, her entire relaxation experience. 51. A man named Paul, on vacation in Florida, registered a complaint with the city about the sun's reflection on the water. He claimed the glare was like a second, unauthorized sun that was not mentioned in any travel guides. He argued it was a safety hazard, creating a blinding visual echo of the actual sun. His proposed solution was for the city to research and install a large, semi-transparent, non-reflective film on the surface of the ocean to diffuse the light. 52. It wasn't the sights or the smells that ruined Beatrice's beach day. It was the sounds. Specifically the sound of the wind. She complained to her resort's management that the wind blowing over the dunes created a distinctly mournful and depressing whistling sound that was bringing down her mood. She suggested the resort could improve the auditory landscape by strategically placing happier-sounding wind chimes along the coast to counteract the natural gloominess of the wind. 53. A geology hobbyist named Walter came to a renowned California beach armed with a pocket magnifying glass and high expectations. He was, however, deeply underwhelmed. He filed a formal critique with the Park Service, stating that the sand was geologically uninteresting, composed of commonplace quartz and feldspar. He felt that for a beach of its reputation, it should feature a more prestigious geological profile, and even suggested they import sand from a more exotic source to enhance the educational experience. What's the most ridiculously specific thing you've ever heard someone complain about? 54. Some people find the vastness of the ocean awe-inspiring, but for one tourist it wasn't vast enough. While looking out over a large, beautiful bay, he became visibly upset. His complaint to the local tourism office was that he could see the land on the other side. This, he argued, ruined the illusion of infinite majesty and made the ocean feel small and contained. He was genuinely disappointed that the beach failed to deliver the truly boundless, edge-of-the-world experience he felt he was promised. 55. After staring at the waves for a solid 30 minutes, a young woman told her hotel concierge that she was bored. Her reason? The ocean lacked a clear narrative arc. She explained that there was no rising action, no climax, and no resolution, just the same repetitive motion. She was genuinely let down that her experience watching a literal force of nature didn't have the satisfying plot structure of a movie. So, from sand being too sandy to oceans lacking a proper plot, we've seen that for some people, no paradise is perfect. These stories prove that the human capacity for finding something to complain about is truly limitless. We've heard 55 absolutely mind-bending complaints, but now the final verdict is yours. We have to know, which complaint on this list struck you as the absolute dumbest? Let the debate begin in the comments below. If these stories made you laugh, or maybe just question reality a little bit, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys into the world of absolute absurdity. Thanks for watching.